Glenn Seaton has pole for the second race here at Barbagello this afternoon, and Peter Brock will be on the front row. Row number 2 will be made up of Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore, Thomas Mazzera in the Mobile Commodore.
And moving up, Johnny Bow up to 5th position. Good result that with Dick Johnson, his teammate, alongside him. And on row 4, Mark Scaife, a good move too, back up there, and Tony Longhurst with the car repaired alongside Mark.
Row number 5 is Jim Richards in the Winfield Racing Commodore, and 49, the first of the privateers, David Attard in the Alcare Air Conditioning Commodore. Row 6, Paul Romano, another of the privateers from Queensland, and Alan McCarthy in the AmCap Commodore here from Western Australia.
Row 7, Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Falcon, and Claude Georgie, the local guy, in the Gyprock Falcon alongside him. Row 8, David Parsons in the Commodore, and Ian Love also on that line.
Row number 9 is Alan Jones, the Peter Jackson Falcon, and Wayne Gardner alongside in the Coke Commodore. Row number 10, Alf Barbagello in the Fortron Commodore, and Neil Crompton in the Coke Commodore. That leaves Kevin Waldock in the Team Komatsu Falcon at the tail of the pack. About 10 seconds away from the start, race number 2 of round 9, the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Peter Brock now only 22 points behind the series leader John Bow, and they're set to go. The front row, Brock and Seaton. Green light on. Seaton wins the start, and Perkins up the inside here could take the lot of them. Bow goes up smartly as well. Could have something here before the first corner as they ram down here into the right-hander. And Peter Brock's going to have a major problem. Bow got away to a brilliant start. Has hung him out to dry. There they are. They touched, actually, coming out of that corner.
Great start there from John Bow. He really leapt off that second row. Almost got squeezed for space, was able to push through to 3rd position. Brilliant start from the series leader. And Brock, he just shuffled back a little bit in the pack. Johnson went out on the grass, actually, and managed to hold it back on the track. So a very fraught start to Heat 2 here today.
Yeah, Glenn away really beautifully again. He's really got this start down pat. He knows what he wants to do. But a fabulous start here from these two fellas, Larry and John. And John now challenging Larry going up the hill. Will be interesting when we catch them.
Well, he almost got him. He stuck his nose up inside the Castrol Commodore coming out of the loop that time. Didn't quite have the speed on him coming out of the corner up toward the hill, but he's in 3rd position. I reckon he'd be very, very happy with that start. What a great start to Heat 2 for him.
Now Perkins will try and work his way across to the right-hand side of the racetrack to protect himself for the next turn. Bow comes down. There's one of the McCarthy, actually went a way bit on the wide side out of that turn. They go into the bottom corner, and now we have John Bow trying to pick up those points. Brock sits back one behind Bow, and they'll have to deal with Larry Perkins, who had no tyre problems whatsoever with these Dunlops in the first heat this morning.
Well, as Mike said on the start line, 22 points now, the gap between Peter Brock and this man, John Bow. Boy, it's getting tight in this championship chase, looking like going all the way down to Oran Park. And any extra points Bow can get here are going to be so valuable to him in that Sydney final.
Look at him. Bow up on the inside. Perkins went a little on the wide side. Peter Brock can see that now. The horsepower comes into play. John Bow with the Falcon on the inside, and Larry trying to move across to the right-hand side of the circuit. They'll come down the hill, and they are pacing it out. This is flat strap, just on 180 kilometres an hour, and Bow gets it under brakes. He moves up one spot to 2nd.
Brilliant move by John Bow under brakes there. He held Perkins side by side. No shortage of grunt from the Castrol Chevy, but John had just enough, and he's got a wheel mark on the side of the door to prove it. These guys have been running side by side.
Larry Perkins sits in here, carries our Castrol Oils race cam. There's Glenn Seaton disappearing out of that turn. John Bow just a touch sideways out of there. Perkins back in 3rd. Brock is 4th. That's the order into the left-hander.
Oh, well, with nothing but fresh air in front of him, Seaton has got the ability to make every millimetre count for him. A little bit of fighting here between John Bow and Larry Perkins. Hard to get onto Seaton's bumper bar at this stage, but real great manoeuvring by John Bow.
And here come the Brockman, right up behind Larry Perkins, and Dick Johnson's there as well. He wants to get towards the front. Johnson has already been at, I guess, an inquiry today over Neil Crompton going off into the sand trap. That's Crompton's 2nd departure into sand traps in the last 2 weeks. Dick allegedly the culprit.
Well, Johnny Bow absolutely flying here. We saw in the last few laps, I think it was the final lap of the opening heat, that big puff of smoke from the front of Seaton's car. It was actually just a fiberglass shroud off one of the air jacks that got caught in the wheel and puffed out a bit of smoke. So Seaton's car running absolutely perfectly. Here's Johnson defending from Tony Longhurst. He too has been back in the garage. Had a terrible electrical misfire in the Castrol Falcon. They hope they've cured it for Heat 2.
They always run strongly here, Tony. So too does Larry Perkins. And Brock really has been making brilliant starts the last couple of rounds. Made a bit of a shocker that time, and is paying the penalty. He's got catch-up motor racing to do.
This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd. This is John Bow
See, Bow was away from him earlier.
Yeah, he's really closed the gap, hasn't he?
He's closed up again. That's almost how JB started in the first heat this morning. Got going early. Then all of a sudden he had them all around him. And Larry is on the move and Brock is on the set. Brock has just picked up the tail of Larry Perkins, so they're not going to get away from Brock. And Dick Johnson sits one back behind them.
Seaton really is steaming away. 2.6 seconds the gap that last time around. He's doing exactly what he did in Heat 2. And look at this down the inside. Perkins actually takes Bow in an identical manoeuvre to what Bow did to Perkins only a few laps ago. Really cut and thrust amongst these two Dunlop cars. And there's Brock sitting right behind him.
You've got to feel confident about your car to be able to make a move like that when you throw all of the 1,300 kilos laterally. He's got to be able to hang on to it.
You see a little bit of defensive driving there, Al?
Well, he's entitled to do that.
I didn't say he wasn't. But look at Johnson. That's the problem. If Johnson drop kicks Brock, it'll be on for young and old.
It's a little bit dicey when that happens, so you can get squeezed off, and Brocky had to back off, or he would have been in the grass.
He had to back off there, and Longhurst takes advantage too. Gives Dick a little bit of muscling up the inside. Move over, fella. Longhurst still side by side with Johnson. They'll run this way all the way through the S's, but Longhurst wins in the end.
Yes, he's on the inside now for this sweeper up onto the old pit straight. So a nice move there by Tony Longhurst. These guys are not fooling around. This is tough work. The decisions, the mental effort that has to go on to make these cars respond to their wishes. They're not on automatic pilot.
Peter Brock paying the price. Now there's Alan Jones, is it? Alan Jones out of the car. He cooked an engine in the first heat. That's all the smoke was coming from the car. They replaced it, a quick engine change, but it looks like more trouble for car 35. Not a good weekend for AJ.
See, this has been coming, and I'm telling you, if Pete isn't smart enough to read it, there's 22 points in the championship, and I think Dick's concentrating on John more than what his own race is concerned. It just agitates him. As soon as he can get a little squint at the tail of the 05 car, it's on for young and old.
He's up there.
I've never seen Dick so inspired in a long number of touring car races. He's really just driving the wheels off this Shell 17 Falcon. Right behind Bow. Brocky, he's not going to let him get away. Lap times pretty well obviously identical at this stage of the race. Seaton now to 2.7 seconds the gap over Perkins in second. And then this great battle between Bow, Longhurst, Brock and Johnson.
Longhurst makes a run again, but no one's going to get down the inside. You'll notice how JB...
He's really trying to...
He just protects that. Now, if Tony can get a really tight line out of here and nudge down... Well,
there's so much action going on here down pit straight.
This is a terrific race, make no mistake. So was the opening race at Mallala.
Lap 10, 30 lapper with third distance. John Bow coming under enormous pressure from Tony Longhurst. Tell you what, Wayne Jones, the Sydney engine builder who's taken over Tony's program, if he was lacking for grunt, it's certainly showing here. This car is very, very quick, particularly up the hill.
The only reason he's under pressure is because he's not running as fast as those behind him, and he's holding the train up. That's why.
That's right. Under pressure in the championship too, knowing every point he can get here is going to be so vital when he tries to fight them off at Oran Park. Here's Tony Longhurst, currently running in fourth position.
Well, John Sawzak and the boys from Castro should be delighted with this season with the performance of Larry Perkins and Tony. That was a big gamble to come up with a Holden and a Ford team, which they announced at Bathurst last year. They took a big gamble, but Tony, starting from scratch, it's unlikely he was always going to get too much support from the other two Ford teams, but he's been able to do it almost as an independent all season. He's up there running with them now and looking good. Look at this, horsepower. That's the Shell Series leader going down the straight, and that's the man challenging Tony Longhurst.
Well, it's good pressure driving from John Bow. We saw this sort of thing at Winton when he won the start and he was able to just hold that conservative line consistently for the whole lap distance. If he can do that here, should keep able to this bunch boxed in behind him. But boy, he's under pressure.
He is working them over. There's no two ways about that. But every one of these fellows is doing a superb job. Here's Mark Scape has joined the Congo line and just watching things unfold in front of him.
Well, they're all lapping in the 59-second bracket. Even Seaton at the front of the pack is only a few tenths up on this bunch, so he's not really holding them up too much. Although look at the way they're piling up behind Bow. He's got a freight train behind him. One little slip and they're all going to be through.
Down the hill they come again. We'll check them out on our Shell race score. Glenn Seaton, the race leader over Larry Perkins. Bow is third. Longhurst is fourth. And Peter Brock is fifth. Don't go away. There's more to come.